My good evening. It's getting dark here already in the UK. My name is Elizabeth Kirsten, and I have been asked to come and speak to you about our exciting collaboration where 11 women have come together. And we have all written a story about things in our life that have positioned us for victory. Now, a lot of the stories in there, a lot of the chapters may seem like they're pretty tough topics to talk about. But I want to tell you that there are silver linings and happy endings as you go through the book chapter by chapter. And I am so excited to be talking about this because having read nearly all of the chapters now, I can tell you that you will be encouraged. You will be greatly encouraged by reading this book. These stories will show you that ordinary people go through extraordinary things. And it does indeed position you for victory. It positions you to speak from a place of victory into other people's lives. And so, first of all, I want to introduce myself. So, as I said, my name is Elizabeth. My friends call me Lizzie. And I'm a grandmother to 9 children, mother to 4. One of my children has passed away, and 3 of them have all got partners. And they, between them, have given me these 9 grandchildren. I live in a quiet corner, really, the furthest southwest corner of Cornwall in the United Kingdom. I love discussing a wide range of topics, from history to mystery, anything in between. All of these I now love discussing and viewing and researching with the foundational belief that I now have in a creator God who came in flesh, who conquered sickness and death for good. And the icing on the cake is eternity with him. I am a daughter of the great King of Heaven. I am a 3 times cancer survivor. I am a 2 times domestic abuse survivor, and I am a car crash survivor as well. That was the first major thing that tried to take me out, really. I've not only always known the Lord, but he's always known me. Now, I want you to let that sink in. He has always known you. There were many years where I didn't know him, but he knew me. And so, even though I didn't know him, every part of my life he has been in because he knows me. And I believe that. I believe he created me. If you don't believe in him, then I still feel that if you read the book, that you would still be find peace within the pages of that, within the pages of the stories that are in the book. So, as I was saying, I've not always known the Lord at all. I had a fairly unorthodox upbringing in 60s Canada and in 70s Great Britain. Yes, I'm that old. Yep, 60s Canada, 70s Great Britain. I was abandoned at the age of 10. My sister was only 6. My mother had a nervous breakdown and left us with a babysitter and fled the country. We were dispatched unaccompanied onto a Boeing 747 to London Heathrow, where our mother, who had fled the country, had come to collect us. I do remember distinctly being quite confused when we got here. And I really don't have any clear not really, really clear memories from before that age. So there are things that that are a bit of shadows of a former life, but I don't really remember them. So I don't know why I don't have any memories from before the age of 10, or not many, and certainly no clear ones. So my first 8 years back in the UK were tough. And I learned in that time, sneaky rebellion. Now, as I've got older, I've discovered that sneaky rebellion can also be like an independent streak. It can cause people to become fairly independent. And as for me, it made me have like a determination that nobody else was going to, I guess, derail me. Although I could not have alluded to that or understood that in that way at that time. Excuse me. So, as I say, when I grew up, I grew up in an atmosphere of parties and drugs and alcohol and broken hearts. And deciding marriage and kids might fill the void. Excuse me. I'm just going to take a drink. I then spent a total of 31 years in active parenting and had 2 marriages that had broken me, completely broken me. Please excuse me. In the midst of this, I dealt with cancer 3 times, and the loss of 2 homes, and the loss of 2 husbands whom I had loved, and a nearly 17-year-old son. My chapter, which is called From Loss to Transformation, speaks of really the biggest chunk of my life that was so filled with challenges, calamity, and trauma that it really culminated in this defining season, really, where in the period of probably 2 short years, which began with the chapter really that I speak about in my book, which led to the next 2 years within which I am still now. I'm still within that 2-year period, but just come over the 2-year mark. It is one of the longest periods of stripping away that I have ever experienced. I'm here to tell you also why people like me tell our story and often tell it so very candidly. You see, we're not telling our story to scare, and we're not telling our story to besmirch anybody or for the sympathy vote. We're telling our story because the stories that we speak of, my story, it tells of a crushing and a stripping away, but it also tells of a life after that, because we don't all go through extreme deep crushing, but we all, as a human being, we all go through periods in our life where we are crushed, where we have our feelings crushed, where things are taken away from us, where ideologies that we had fail or prove to be wrong. And so that is why we want to speak, to be able to encourage you. Loss to Transformation, which is my chapter, It talks of a period that spans 18 years of my life. Before I tell you about that, I just want to put a bit of a caveat here, that whether a period of transformation that you go through is short or long, it is a period of transformation. It is something that changes you from one thing and to another. In fact, I also want to tell you this, that in writing this had not been on my radar. So writing a chapter in this book had not been on my radar. And writing this chapter of my life at this juncture had also not been on my radar. I knew that I would be writing it one day in detail, the whole story. But Daniela came to me and asked me if I would be ready to write this. You see, when I first hooked up with Daniela, so she would help me write my book and publish my first book, which is called Isha. It is about another chapter in my life, and I'm not going to speak into that now. If you'd like to connect with me further from reading my chapter or from this talk, then please do connect with me, Elizabeth Kirsten on Facebook, or contact Daniela and by email, or go to my website from the link that is below here. But my chapter had not been on my radar to do. But when I agreed to do it, as I wrote it, I discovered kind of a new layer, really, of healing that I have experienced since the moment that I talk about in my chapter. And it was only through writing it, really, I knew that each stage that I had received healing, that I had received that healing, but I didn't realize the cumulative effect of the healing that I'd had until I sat down to write this. And I'd also forgotten much of it, really. It's not that I'd put it out of my mind. It was still fairly fresh. But it just wasn't in the front of my mind. I think that would probably be a better way of putting it. Lost to Transformation, it tells of a period that is 18 years. But even more than that, I realized that it was a factor, a trauma, and a chapter of my life that brought together all the broken pieces and then smashed them to smithereens. Why would I even say that to you? I mean, why would you want to read a chapter that is about somebody being smashed up through their life, and then this chapter that tells the story of how I got smashed to smithereens? In the Word of God, in the Bible, there are a couple of accounts of there's one where he is the potter and we're the clay. In another part of his word, it says that he put such treasure in jars of clay. Now, the Genesis account of how man was created was that God created us from the dust of the earth. And that kind of that lines up a little bit with the people that say that people didn't just materialize, that we came out of this goo and gradually changed into the human beings that we are. I don't believe that, but we did come from the dust of the earth. He created us from that dust and he breathed his life into us, and that's what I believe. And I believe that when he breathed into us, we are his children, and he has put treasure in us. But unfortunately, life comes and tries to block that treasure. It tries to separate us from him. And it did that very successfully with me when I was growing up. And one of the things that was never supposed to happen was sickness and dying. And I experienced both of those within this 18-year period of my life, my disabled child was born. He was extremely disabled. And then in amongst that, there were many, many, many other trials. And then ultimately, whilst I was going through a personal health trial in my life, my 3rd round of cancer, my son passed away. And the reason I want to tell you about it was because when he passed away, the process was so amazing. The moment that he passed away was just so amazing that I realized that even though I had no doubt about where I was going, I knew I had no doubt. It was faith. It was believing in something that hoped for but not yet seen. When he stepped over the veil, I saw it. I saw him go. You'll have to read the chapter to find out the details. But it was an amazing, amazing revelation to me. And I want you to read that because I want you to know that no matter what you've done, what has been done to you, what has happened to you, what gets taken from you, whatever sickness and disease you go through, that doesn't change what his word says. His word says that he died so that we don't get sick and we don't die. And yet, I got sick, my child was born disabled, and he died. But I can tell you quite categorically, there is life after death. I can tell you that. And the reason there's life after death is because this life isn't all that there is. There is more. There is more beyond the veil. And we don't have to wait until we die to see beyond that veil. And he's promised us that he will be with us always in this part of our life. And so my coaching business, which is an umbrella organization, actually Life Without Limits is part of an umbrella organization where I have several offshoots of it. There's my ministry that goes off of it. There's my coaching business that goes off of it. There's a support group for women who have suffered sexual abuse within Christian marriages, which I talk about in my first book. It's called Life Without Limits, and it's coaching. And the coaching encourages you to step over the superimposed and the fake boundaries in order to take back what the enemy has stolen. And like I said, you don't have to have a faith to be coached by myself. You don't have to have that faith at all. You will still learn how to step over the boundaries that you impose on yourself. There are also free downloadable documents that will bring you encouragement and freedom. And you will see in the link below, there is my email address and a link to our book. And I would thoroughly encourage you to come and to read the book, and then to whichever of the stories and the accounts resonate with you, get in contact with that person that's written that chapter if you feel compelled to do so, or join up with Daniela. Tell your story. Be the next person that tells your story. Encourage others. This is what life is about. It's about encouraging others. We're all in this together, and we get this one small chapter of this life on earth, and it's only one chapter. What are you going to do with your chapter? I want you to step in boldly and to have the courage of your convictions, and to know that the things that have happened to you are positioning you for victory. And we want to help you to step into that victory. We want to help you to be an overcomer and to be encouraged and to be strong and to go out fighting, because who wants to go out not fighting, eh? So thank you so much for joining me today. And I do apologize. I've been struggling with a really horrendous cold virus. And I've been struggling quite a lot with it. And I had also done a 20-minute talk before this and then hadn't recorded. So there you go. So I've done it twice now, and I've just about got some voice left to say thank you so much. Buy the book, and please be there on launch day. We're really looking forward to seeing you. Lots of love.